Hi students, my name is Pandika, your social studies educator at Study Room, and today we are going to cover a different chapter which is Confronting Marginalization, which means how the marginalized communities try to stop being marginalized. What steps did they take to not get marginalized by the majority communities? Alright, moving forward. Okay, so this is one of the ways that is invoking fundamental rights. But before understanding this topic, let's first understand what were the different ways than this way how they stopped from getting marginalized. So there were some other ways also. They basically tried to uplift them through learning our language or setting up businesses which were very successful or getting themselves educated as the majority communities. So basically, let me give you an example. So if what the minority community started doing now, they started to learn the language as the majority community, and it is quite obvious that if someone would speak same language as ours, why would we exclude that person? We will definitely include that person, right? So why would we exclude a person who speaks same language as ours? And they started to educate themselves. If they start to educate themselves, obviously they would speak about topics that we are also aware of, and if two people are speaking on the same topic, on a common mutual topic, why would a person exclude that person, right? Why would a majority community exclude the minority community if they will be also as educated as them or speak the same language as them? So they started to follow these small little techniques of learning the same language or educating themselves or economically developing by them by setting up businesses, right? But these were one way. What is the second way through which they stopped getting marginalized? That was invoking fundamental rights. Now they actually raised their voice against government to on the basis of that their fundamental rights were being violated, and it was very true. One of the fundamental rights that we know is right to equality, that is getting equal rights no matter majority, minority, or belonging to whichever caste, religion, gender, or sex. So each and every person has the right to get equal rights, but this is quite evident that they were being dominated and this right to equality is being violated. Their fundamental rights were being violated, and so they raised their voice against government saying that their fundamental rights are getting violated. And so the government should basically enforce some laws in order to safeguard this violation of fundamental rights, in order to safeguard the protection of their fundamental rights. And so the government actually implemented Article 17 of the Constitution, which abolishes untouchability. Since we know that later, before independence or after independence, since many years there was a practice of untouchability in our country, wherein the people of upper caste used to consider the people of lower caste as Dalits or as untouchables, that if they will touch them something will happen to them, or they're not supposed to touch them, etc, etc. So there was a practice of untouchability. You know what is untouchability, right? So there was a practice of untouchability in India for many years, right? So the people of lower caste were being treated as untouchables because they used to look different, or they used to be, they were basically, there was a discrimination between upper caste and lower caste. There used to be a lot of discrimination and practice of untouchability, which was abolished through the act that was implemented by the government. That was Article 17. So according to Article 17, if someone tries to discriminate some other person on the basis of untouchability, the other person who is being discriminated can go to the court and say that his right has been violated, and the action will be taken for the same against the person who is trying to discriminate. So such articles, such laws were being enforced by the government to protect and safeguard the people from being marginalized. The second article that was implemented was Article 15, which prohibits the discrimination on the basis of their religion, race, caste, sex, or place of birth. So this is quite obvious that if someone would be discriminated on these bases, that person will be punished for the same, because such a right, such a law has been enforced in the country, that if someone tries to violate, the person will be punished. Okay, moving forward. Alright, so we now understood that rights were being implemented in the country. Article 17 according to which untouchability is prohibited, Article 15 according to which discrimination is prohibited in the country, and if anyone tries to do that to someone, that person will be punished for the same. Okay, so Apart from these, we also need some laws to help these marginalized communities. Now we understood that there are some laws that have been implemented to stop these things, right? But we also need some laws to uplift these communities because they have been dominated for many long years, right? So we also need some laws to uplift them in the society. Okay, so what are these laws? Let's understand those. Okay, so basically what government does now basically we'll understand the laws that have been enforced in the country, which will make them as equal as the majority community. All right, so there has been two steps which were taken. That one of them is some seats will be reserved in the government colleges for the students which belong to the minority communities. The second is that the some seats will be reserved for the people who belong to minority communities in the government job sector. Okay, so now let's understand that how this reservation take place. Okay, all right, so now let's assume that we all know that right now your students are in 8th standard, so you might not know how the admissions of the colleges take place, but I will just give you a brief review as to how does it take place, and I hope that you understand it. So basically at the time of the admission, any government college or any government college, be it a medical college or be it a normal college like Delhi University, you might know Delhi University. So any government college will basically release a cutoff at the time of admission. Now for instance, let's say that this is a cutoff, okay, of this year, which is 2021. Okay, so a cutoff basically comes from the behalf of the colleges. Okay, now let's talk about a government college, Delhi University. It releases the cutoff of 2021 for a course, let's say BCom. Okay, so it will basically release cutoff for different category of people. That is, now it will release for the general category that belongs to the majority community. It will also release for the SCs, which are the minorities. It will release for the STs, which are again the minorities, and the other backward caste people. Alright, so for let's say that for BCom it has released the cutoff, the percentage that is to be 98% in a particular college, let's say any government college. Okay, any government college. Delhi University is basically a government based university, and all the colleges that are in the Delhi University are the government college. So let's assume any government college ABC. This is a government college, this is not a government college, we're just assuming it for the sake of the example. Let's say that this government college has released a cutoff for this particular course, which is supposed to be 98% for the people who belongs to majority community, but it is 96 and 96 for the people who belongs to the minority community. Now this is what happens. Now this is basically a exemption of 2% to the people who belongs to minority communities. Why there is an exemption? Because we know that since they have been dominated since years, they do have a less access to resources, they have been given less access to the education, and so due to less access of resources, they have lesser education opportunities as the students of majority communities. That is why government gives an exemption of 2% to these students. Now this was just an example, this could be different for each college. This was just an example wherein government gives such exemptions to the students who belong to the minority communities. Now here the students will have to get 98% to take admission in this particular course in this particular college, while the students who belong to the minority communities will only have to get 96% in order to take admission in this particular course in this particular college. So this is basically how government provides exemption. Now this was one of the ways. Now basically when we say that these students have been given exemption in the percentage, they also have been given exemption in some other way, that is their seats have been reserved. Now for let's say that in this particular course for this particular college 28 seats have been reserved, that in this college for this course 28 students can be admitted, can take admission for the general category, right? And let's say that there are 20 seats which have been reserved for the minority community. Now there is a particular reservation which happens for the minority community. 20 seats will only be reserved for the people, for the students who belong to these categories. And even though they doesn't get filled at the end of the admission, people from the general category won't be allowed to take admission in these seats. They will only be reserved for the people of minority communities. These 20 seats are only for the minority communities, okay, that belong to the minority communities. Even though these 20 seats doesn't get filled, they won't be given to the general category. So this is what I'm trying to say, that the government has basically reserved some seats in the government colleges for the students who belong to SCs, STs, and other backward caste. Okay, and they have been given some exemption because of the lack of education that they have been given due to the lack of resources. So this is how the government has enforced some laws and policies in order to uplift these students. Okay, I hope you understand the entire process as to how government provides reservation and exemption in the government colleges. Now this same happens in the government jobs also. Now for, let's say that there is a job, okay, um, there is a job in the government school. For a government school, there is a job that has been released, that we need a teacher for a government school. Right now, let's say that there have been 20 vacancies, that 20 teachers could be admitted to teach in the government school. 20 students, 20 people can apply to be the teacher in this government school. Now amongst those 20, there will be reservation. That reservation could be 5, that reservation could be 10, but there will be a reservation for the people who belong to the minority communities. Now this reservation is basically to validate those people, that this particular seat has been reserved for only you people, so that their seats are also validated, so that they also get equal opportunity, equal access to the resources, and they also get uplifted in the society. Because otherwise, if they wouldn't be reserved, the seats wouldn't be reserved, there is a possibility that they again get dominated by the majority community, that they again, the people of majority community, through the power of money, through the power of approach, they get to occupy all the seats, and the minority doesn't get a chance. Because minority communities, as we all know, they are lesser powerful, right? They have lesser money, they have lesser approach to big people or powerful people, and that is why they are not able to access to all the opportunities as majority communities are. And that is why the government has reserved some seats for them, so that they also get validated and they also get equal opportunities to be the part of the government sector, to be the part of the social and economic development, to get included in the society fully. Okay, moving on. So here's a question which says, state one reason why you think reservation plays an important role in providing social justice to Dalits and Adivasis. So as I explained to you right now, that since we know that minority communities, right, these minority communities are less powerful, right? They are less powerful, we know that, and there is a possibility that they get dominated, and because they get dominated, they get less resources and less access to the education, right? Now if they would be given reservation, they will be the part of the college which the majority communities are. Now basically, if they will be given reservation, there is a possibility that those reservation would be filled by the people of the minority communities. They will be able to be the part of the colleges where the students of majority community studies. And obviously, if they will be the part of the colleges where the majority communities will study, they will be able to be the part of the society. They will be able to be included in the society. They will be given equal opportunities. They will be given equal access to the education as the majority communities are getting. And that could ultimately lead to their upliftment in the society, thereby getting dignity and social justice in the society. So let's recall, what did we actually say because we know that minority communities are basically less powerful. They could be dominated by the more powerful group of people, and if reservations are given to them, they could be the part of the colleges where the students of the majority community studies, and this will help them to get included in the society as a whole. If they will be included as a society as a whole, they will be able to be the part of the mainstream of the nation, and that will help them in getting dignity and social justice. So one of the reasons why reservation plays an important role in providing social justice is because reservation helps in the upliftment of the minority communities, as they get equal resources and equal access to the education if they become the part of the colleges where the students of the majority community studies, which thereby helps them to be the part of the society, which leads to the social justice of Dalits and Adivasis. So I hope that you understood and I was clear enough to make you understand the reason or make you explain the answer of this particular question. Moving on. Okay, so this is a table which we need to fill, and one of the schemes, there is a list of schemes, and we need to tell how does these schemes help in providing social justice to the minority communities. So one of the schemes is scholarship for the students. How does scholarships for the students help in giving the minority communities social justice? So basically, government has made one of the scheme which says that it will give scholarship to the students. Scholarship to the students means that they will conduct a particular exam. Any of the students can give that particular exam, and if they passed that exam, they will be given exemption in the fees of a particular college, or an exemption in the fees of their education, basically. So a particular exam will be conducted, which could be given by each and every student, and if the students passes it, they will be given an exemption in the fees of their education. That could be fees of their college or fees of their school, right? Maybe they get free education, so the exemption could be anything. Maybe 50% fees get 50% and the fees get totally exempted. It could be anything, but this is what scholarship means. And scholarship for the students is one of the schemes which have been implemented by the government. And the question asks that how do you think that the scholarship helps to promote the social justice in the country, helps to uplift the minority community? So it is quite obvious that if such a scheme is implemented, it will help the minority communities, students who belong to the minority communities also. It will give them the chance to also give this exam, and on the basis of their talent, skills, and knowledge, if they passes this exam, they will get exemption from their fees. They will get an exemption in the fees of their college or school or whatever the scholarship is of. Okay, so this will definitely help in the upliftment of these minority communities, because the scholarship is basically giving them equal access to the resources, equal access to the educational opportunities, and thereby it is giving an opportunity to the people of the minority communities to get free access to education, right? This will definitely promote social justice, as they obviously have lesser money. They belong to the lower caste and do have lesser money. So this scholarship helps them to get uplifted in the society, because scholarships help each and every student, and each and every student, be it the student of majority community or the student of majority minority community, could be the part of these scholarships, could give the exams and avail the financial assistance that the government is basically giving. So it could be the student of majority community also, and it could be the student of minority community also. So if a student in case belongs to a minority community and passes the scholarship exam, will get in financial aid. That means he or she will get an exemption in the fees of the college or the school. All right, and this will definitely help those people to get uplifted in the society, because they cannot afford to pay so much fees of the college, they cannot afford to pay so much fees of the school. So let's take an example that there is a very hi-fi school in a city, wherein the students of minority communities also want to be the part of that school, right? As the majority communities are, but they cannot take admission because obviously they do not have the money to get admitted there in that school. So for instance, let's say that school releases a scholarship exam for the students, and a student belonging to a minority community clears that scholarship exam of that school. And the scholarship says that if you clear the scholarship exam, then you will be able to get admitted into the college at 50% of the fees. So obviously, this is an opportunity for the student of a minority community to get admitted into that school where the students of majority community are studying. So this obviously, it is quite evident and obvious that this scholarship for students help the students of minority communities to get uplifted through getting financial aid. Okay, special police stations is one of the other schemes that have been implemented by the government. And the question says, how does it help to promote social justice? All right. So, as we all know, that minorities are powerless, they do have lesser power than the majority communities. And obviously, we all know that there are so many cases on daily basis for the police to handle. And it becomes really difficult for the police to handle all the cases. And it is quite obvious that we all know that police only handles the cases, or mostly it handles the cases which have occurred to people who are more powerful, because obviously if the police wouldn't handle their cases, those powerful people can they can actually, they have approach, they have money to give to the police. And we all know that India is corrupted, and so the police usually helps the people who are more powerful more than the people that they help, which belongs to the minority community. So these special police stations have been made in the country so that the cases, so that the crime that occurs to these people that belongs to the minority community also get access to the police station, also get justice, also they are able to access the police station, and the police officers are able to help these people, because we all know that they are lesser powerful, they cannot use the money, or they cannot use the power of approach to get access to the police officers and get their case solved by them or whatever. So these special police station will obviously help them to get equal access to the police station, and their cases can also be solved as fast as the cases of people who belong to majority communities get solved. The third scheme says special schemes for girls in the government school. Okay. So, as we all know, that India is a male-dominated society. Earlier, as we're talking about the times when we were getting independence and after independence, we all know that at that time, not now, there is a lot of improvement that have happened now, but at that time during independence or after independence, there used to be a lot of discrimination between girls and boys. Girls were not given access to education as it was given to boys. Boys were allowed to study more than girls. And such special schemes were being implemented for girls in the government school. And how do you think, if special schemes for girls in the government school would be implemented, how do you think that it would help in it would help in promoting social justice for girls? It will definitely help. The families which discriminate between boys and girls doesn't give access to education to girls as equal as they're given to boys. Obviously, if special scheme for girls in the government school will be implemented, it will help to promote girls in getting the education. Right? If one of the schemes, let's say a government schools implements such a scheme that a girl can have an access to education at 50% of the fees as boys. So let's say fees of the boys in a government school is rupees 100 per month. Now, the government scheme that the government school implements a scheme that says that girls could be admitted at 50%, that is at 50 rupees per month. So it will obviously encourage the families to send their girls in the schools. And through this, it will help in educating, this scheme will help in educating the girls also, which will thereby promote the education in girls, right? So this will definitely help in promoting the social justice in the society. So I hope you understood what I was trying to tell you in this question, and you understood that how does each scheme promote social justice. Okay, this brings us to the end of this video. We'll meet in the next video, we'll connect in the next video, and by then, thank you so much for joining me on Study Room.